Last two victories, huh?
Speaking of unexpected things, that takes us right into the NBA.
Yes, NBA. Yes, let's roll into the NBA. So, George, I would take it now that LeBron is going home. I'm coming home. I'm coming. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, he's going back to Cleveland. So now I would have to imagine that you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan.
Yes.
Yes. Now I'm gonna say something before we get into this. I don't. I mean, I'm glad LeBron went back to Cleveland. I actually was all for the Miami Heat breaking up. I was just sick of that whole fiasco down there and stuff. But it's funny as shit. And this is what I found very funny. And tell me truly what you think about this, George. I wanted to pose this question. Dan Gilbert, who is probably the biggest fucking crybaby, he wrote that note and kept it on his site forever and never took it down for LeBron James. Then he cries about shit. Oh, small markets can't do this, do this, do this, do this. Let me tell you something, okay? He's always trying to impede other teams like Lakers blockbuster trades, Boston's blockbuster trades, Miami. He was obviously pissed off because LeBron was leaving and going to Miami. He's always been one of these owners to speak up and say shit about, these teams trying to create a monopoly. He is doing the exact same thing in Cleveland, okay? First of all, he's got 3 of the last 4 picks, number 1 picks. He's got LeBron. He's got Kylie fucking Irving. And now he's trying to get fucking Kevin Love. Okay? So he's basically building his own big 3 in Cleveland, doing the same thing, trying to bring in all these superstars. And not only that, he's got Mike Miller, who's actively trying to recruit Ray Allen now. And so, I mean, think about it.
And they signed James Jones.
You said what?
They signed James Jones.
And he signed James Jones. So what Dan Gilbert doing is Cleveland, I just can't stand how much of a fucking baby he is. I'm glad LeBron said, hey, we both had a lot of growing up. And actually, to me, LeBron was the bigger person in this whole thing, But Dan Gilbert is just, I just wish he would just shut the fuck up. Huh?
Championship.
You said what?
Championship.
What are you saying? I can't hear you.
Championship.
Oh, championship. Yeah, they're going to win the championship.
Championship. I mean, if they get Kevin Love, it's going to be really difficult for any team in the East.
Yeah, I mean, if they get Kevin Love.
And the idea that people are talking about, oh, they got to keep Wiggins. Why? Wiggins, LeBron play the same spot. Wiggins, what's he going to play, 8 minutes a night, 12 minutes a night?
Right.
I mean, if I'm Wiggins, I want to stay. Maybe I'll learn something from LeBron. But, I mean, from a logistics standpoint, a roster standpoint, it makes no sense to keep Andrew Wiggins. And they can take Snack Bennett, too, because he's rotten. Even though he has
that's what they're saying. Yeah, no, they've already said that they're willing to part with those guys. Mm-hmm. Like they're willing to get rid of Wiggins and Bennett, and also talking about a pick. Like a next year's draft pick.
Yeah, and trust me, everyone in the world is like, this makes no sense for Minnesota. I'm like, they thinking they should go with the Golden State trade and get Klay Thompson and get the known. And I'm like, okay, so you bring Klay Thompson in and he plays with Ricky Rubio and...
Yeah. It's
so at least if you take the 2 previous number 1 picks plus Ricky Rubio and a first round pick next year, you're trying to build a team. You don't. I mean, very few teams are 1 or 2 players away from an NBA title. Let's be serious. Minnesota, even with Kevin Love, is 2, maybe 3 players away from an NBA title. So why not unload him? See what happens with this Bennett kid. If he's not any good, you release him next year. Hold on to Wiggins. He might do or be something. Pair him with Ricky Rubio if he can stay healthy, and you might have a 1-2 punch right there that could, maybe entice a free agent in a year or 3. But I don't know. Like the trading for Klay Thompson makes no sense.
To me, at this point in time, it's a good deal for the Cavs and the Wolves. I mean, the Cavaliers, you got LeBron, you've got Kylie Irving. Now you get somebody to help out with Verrier, whatever the fuck I'm trying to say.
Get it right, son.
You'll know the name.
You'll know the name.
Yeah, I will definitely know it by the end of the 2014-15 season. But Verrier, and then. Now if you bring in Love, okay, so you give up Wiggins, you give up Bennett, okay, that's fine, that's a lot, but those guys they're going to take years to develop and stuff, and now you have LeBron, who's not a young spring chicken anymore. He wants to win championships. Yep. Everybody in the city of Cleveland is getting uneasy about it. Now you give up the other draft pick. People are like, oh, they're giving up a draft pick. Let me tell you something. The Cavaliers draft pick next year will be irrelevant because they'll be one of the top teams in the day. It's not like they're going to give up a number 1 next year. It's not like they're even going to be in a lottery next year because they're going to be in probably the championship next year. So they're going to have a far back pick. So that pick, everybody, becomes irrelevant. So for them to give up that and all of a sudden say, okay, overnight by gaining Love, we're probably the favorites to win the NBA championship, you make that fucking move. Right. Give up the fucking picks.
Here's another thing I want to ask you. Who was the last athlete, last team, last person, last anyone in their respective sport to go to their title game 5 times in a row?
I mean, it would have to be that title game. I mean, you're probably looking back at like
talking
Bill
about like
Russell.
I was gonna say even further. I was gonna say John. What's his name? Wooten in UCLA.
Yeah, Wooten was doing it at UCLA, but you got to think it's a player, so they never got 5 years. Like Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there.
The best you could do is 4.
But
has there ever been an athlete to go to 5 consecutive? Because LeBron's got that shot. This was his 4th consecutive title game.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, it would be Bill Russell. It would be the 1960 Celtics. I think that's the last team. Because you're going way back, man. You're going back over 50 years.
Dog, you had an afro and bell bottoms and shoes with fish in them, didn't you?
And people were like, "Shoot the ball, nigger!" But anyway, so, but anyway, yeah. So it's, I mean, you're going back a long ways, but. You know, whatever the case is, they should, if they get Love, I think it's a wrap. I mean, we can go to the other thing. I tell you another thing, too, and I think a lot of people disregarding this team. The Miami Heat lost their best player, but they're still a decent team,
especially for the East. I'm gonna tell you got to remember they're in the East. I would not be surprised if the Heat come in 7 or 8, and a lot of that's going to depend on Dwayne Wade. The one piece that stayed in Miami that hurt my heart a little bit, but I understood why, because he's going to make more money there. And let's face it, I'd stay in Miami
Birdman.
too. Yeah, I wanted to see him go play with LeBron, but that's just because I like him. I like his energy. I like him off the bench. I love his tenacity around the boards and looking for blocks. I think that would have been awesome to see with Varejao. But
yeah, it's, I mean, it's, you know, you look at it all, George, and it's like you look at Miami though, and I think 7 or 8, I think they might be higher than that. I tell you a team that I got, you know, last year it was the Wizards. I think they'll do well this season too. But I'm going to tell you a team you got to look out for, and obviously I think the Wizards will be back in there. Losing Trevor Ariza, but replacing him with Paul Pierce, a proven veteran, was smart as shit. That's the best thing he could have done by losing Trevor Ariza. So I think they will be in the running again. I think the Heat will be up there farther than people think because they got 2 good pieces before they lost LeBron, and that's going to make them a good team. You know, they're a little deeper than they were last year. I tell you, the team to watch out for this year in the East will be Charlotte, because they started pouring it on and they look really good, and they got Stevenson now. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's where they were hurting. That's the one area that the Bobcats or the Hornets were hurting at, and now they've added Lance Stevenson, and you've got a proven player. This guy's a great guard, and now you got him to complement Anthony Davis. They honestly might be top 4 team in the East. You know?
It'll be interesting, but the one thing, not to shy away from this conversation, but what I want to get at is the summer of 2016. Somebody's going to be a free agent. He's a local kid, and they think he's possibly going to be coming back home.
Is Durant?
Yeah. Now, that's my question is, I think if you watch 10 minutes of this show, everyone understands my opinion of Westbrook. I truly don't think Kevin Durant and John Wall would play well together. I just don't. I don't think John Wall's game complements Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant's game sure as shit doesn't complement John Wall's.
I think I disagree with you a little bit, because I really studied Wall's game. He can be very unselfish. Like he kind of reminds me of a Rajon Rondo. He can do it all, but he can dish it off. I mean, when he really wants to play defense, he can play pretty decent defense, and he can dish the ball off. Like he looks for players. I mean, and the prime example of that is you see how many points Bradley Beal puts up. You know, so I mean, he could utilize Kevin Durant. I mean, if he came back to DC, I think that would be great. It would be great for DC. I would love to see it. I think free agency next year is going to be crazy, because I think this is where you will see some of these other teams start to get into it, like the Spurs, the Lakers, you know, obviously the Celtics, because they're holding off, saying, okay, they think free agency next year will be better than it was this year. And I have to agree, because they're younger free agents coming out that are going to give you more time.
I don't think Boston's a hot spot. Like, if I'm a young African American, look, fuck it. If I'm a young black dude in the NBA, I ain't going to Boston. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a free agent, I'm so sorry. There's nothing enticing about Boston. The only thing I've ever heard about Boston is it's the most racist city in this entire country. That's it. That's all I've heard. So let me think. If I'm a 20-something-year-old black kid from who cares wherever, and I'm going to Boston, hell nah. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not. I don't care how much money you're throwing at me. Look what Stevenson did. Stevenson took a year less for like basically $600,000 more. That was the difference between taking a 5-year to a 4-year compared to what he was getting paid. I mean, it shows you. Like, I don't know. I think players want more flexibility in their contracts too, and I don't think they're going to get that. And I don't like Boston. I really don't.
Yeah. Now, I think the other thing, too, is you got to watch in free agency next year. You're going to have Boston's going to have it a lot tougher because back in the day, it was the GMs. You know, you had these GMs, the way their GMs work. And, you know, you saw like Pat Riley coming from the Lakers, what he did, those types of GMs. Now you've got one of those guys in New York, a big money market, and Carmelo's sitting there. They're going to have some money freed up with Stoudemire, you know, fucking going off the books. The Heat will probably have a lot of money freed up. They'll try to do some things if Pat Riley stays there. I will tell you guys this now. Remember, I said this. Once Pat Riley leaves the Heat will go back to being a shitty organization. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Heat fans. I'm sorry, Heat fans, but the reason that organization has succeeded is because of Pat Riley. And if you can't see that, then you're fucking blind. Because it's like he came back, coached you to a championship. He is the GM. He makes shit happen. And he's thinking about stepping down within the next year or two. And I think if that happens, then the Heat will kind of go back to that, you know, being quiet unless they can replace him with a really good, aggressive GM.